It's dirty. All right, what's up, guys? All right, are we going?
To clean it.
There we go.
That's better.
It's much better. Instagram, here we go.
Hello. Feel free to share any questions you guys have as they pop up.
All right, we're live. Yay! What's up, guys? So
Hello.
we're running unusually late today. Had a little situation had to take care of, but it's good now. Welcome, guys. I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master. Oh,
didn't go live on
what is
stuff.
going on here?
Instagram.
There we go.
Funny.
Instagram. Okay.
Maybe.
Fuck. All right, let me close out and try again. Sorry, guys. Give us a second here. Instagram is not cooperating.
Technical difficulties.
Come on.
Oh, thank you. We're ready.
Okay.
There we go.
As I was saying, I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. And
I'm Mariah.
Mariah's joining me today. And we're going to answer questions, share some stuff. But today we want to talk a little bit about self-sufficiency. I think this is a very relevant topic right now, being on planet Earth. And there's many ways we can approach this, but basically, when you're self-sufficient within yourself, you're not relying on external things. And this can make, let me gather myself here. This can look like many different things. So in a relationship, we often see this codependency. I need this person. I'm empty within myself. I have nothing within. I'm not sufficient within myself. I'm empty. So I need to take something from someone else. I need to try to get something from someone else. And this is a very common pattern that people enter into relationships from. And they're just taking from each other, depleting each other over time. And then what does this look like on a more collective level? It looks like I'm dependent on this system, on this governmental system to, I have to go to the grocery market to get my food. I have to go to hospitals, things like that. You're dependent on a system because you're unable to take care of yourself. And, this was just a big thing that came up for me today. If you want to jump in at any time, I know I'm kind of.
I will go for it.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
But so I was out with my parents. We went out to my parents' farm yesterday to hang out there for the day for a little while, and just realizing how they had just planted a bunch of cover crops in a very small area of land. So typically farming in our modern world, it's done monocropping. They plant one certain crop in over acres and acres of field, and it's incredibly wasteful. It's incredibly unsustainable because there's all this basically this method of I forget what it's called exactly, but you're planting all these different plants together in a smaller amount of space, and you get a higher yield. And it's like if everyone was doing this, literally everyone on the planet would have an abundance of food. Like there's more than enough resources for everyone to have overabundance of food. But the thing is that we've lost that way of living. Many of us, we've given away this ability to provide for ourselves, to fix things, to build things. We've given that away for toys, to live in a steel box, to have a television to sit in front of every day, for social media, for gadgets. We've given away our true human nature to basically become enslaved by an instant gratification system, giving all of our power away to something that feeds off of us. And what do we get in return? We get
controlled.
We get Netflix, we get porn, we get macaroni and cheese, So really this point of understanding where we're at in the world. And if we want things to change, we have to create that change ourselves. You have to start becoming self-sufficient. And again, whether this is in relationships, learning to love yourself, learning to cultivate your own sexual pleasure, your own sexual orgasm, so that or in the world, growing your own food, having your own land, having your own water supply. This way you are self-sufficient and you don't have to buy into bullshit. No one can pressure you to put weird things in your body or to do weird stuff because you're self-sufficient. You don't have to buy into it. And so you come from a place of abundance. You come from a place of, for example, in relationships, when you're both doing this inner work, charging yourself up, you're clear, you're charged, you're balanced. And instead of, I need this from you, I'm entering this in from a space of neediness, instead of that, it's like, instead of taking things from each other, it's like, what can we create together? We're both abundant in our energy and we're harmonized and balanced. What can we create together? Same thing in the world. When everyone has this abundance, instead of I need to get my gun and shoot you and take all your stuff, it's like, okay, we both have abundance. We have abundance of skills. We have abundance of resources. How can we create something together? And that really is the paradigm for the new world, I feel like. That's my rant. You go ahead.
Just kind of tandem with that, at the same time, I feel like there's so many people in the world talking about, oh, I can't wait until all of this is over. I can't wait until this change. And you joke about it a lot with like 5D stuff, but everybody just saying like, oh, I can't wait until the new world is here. I can't wait until all these shifts happen. But all of the things that we're currently experiencing that we don't want to experience, the systems that we know don't work, all the things that we know need to change, those things can't really go away if we're still relying on them. They can go away, but if they do, we'll all just be here scrambling, and like it's going to be an even bigger disaster to try to clean up. And so the whole like self-sufficiency conversation is really about figuring out like, okay, how can I use, a tiny little 4x4 square of land, or whatever size that, someone happens to have, to help foster some more abundance, to help actually like get away from a system, whether it has to do with food or relationship or whatever other area, but how can we actually like govern ourselves better in our own personal life, and then help the friends and family around us do that, and then let that expand to our communities, because then there won't be a need for the systems that we know don't work, and they can easily slide away, and it's not going to cause like a complete meltdown of society. And so just looking at all the different little ways that we can actually do something to take action on what we all say that we want. Because I think everybody wants a lot of change right now. Everybody wants things to be very, very different. And it's not just going to magically poof appear that way. And we were talking about this earlier today, but, even the people who are really wanting there to be outside intervention to help us get there, whether that's from aliens or whatever other beings, like they want us to learn our lesson too. Like they want to see us actually evolve and get to a place where we can sustain ourselves and not call on them and be like, hey, help me, I'm helpless.
So it's like the change, people sitting around waiting for things to change. Nothing's going to change, right? Unless you change yourself. You have to be actively co-creating the world you want to live in. So it's like, okay, I'm done with this system. I'm going to create my own system, right? And so I don't know how much more I want to rant about this, but that's what I feel like sharing today. Specifically, I was out with my parents, and there's, they're talking about, things are changing out in the farmland. People are buying farmland, turning it into subdivisions and things, and realizing that there's this. My parents' friends have this farmland. None of their kids are farming, so it's like, what are they gonna do with this land when they die? They're just gonna sell it. It's gonna be houses. So I'm like, okay, what could I do with that land? I'm like, if I buy this 5 acres, I'm like, it's a cornfield. They're not making, farmers aren't making very much money. It's a sad truth. It's a strange thing. Our agricultural system on this planet it's self-destructive. It's a dead end. It's going to lead to famine at some point, right? So I'm like, how do I take this 5 acres of land and put out a much higher level of energy, of abundance, both bringing it in and creating it out, right? And I'm like, I can mix all these different crops together, organic farming, have like a pond full of fish. I can create, free energy, all these ideas I'm having. But anyways, I'm kind of ranting at this point, so we should probably get into questions. But just sharing, get inspired. Ask yourself, what skills do I have? It's like, I always think about like RPG games where it's like there's the different classes and everyone has like a certain skill set, and you're like traveling together and having adventures. It's like, what do you have to contribute to your party? What skill sets do you have that will be valuable? Who can you team up with to collaborate together to create your own world? That's kind of what I'm doing with a group of guys down in Oklahoma. I just bought a property down there. We're creating a community of off the grid houses. It can be like a retreat center. We're probably going to make Airbnbs and stuff. But anyways, just a project I'm getting into. And I really encourage you guys to think big, have a big vision right now. Like, okay, what do I want the future to look like? I want the world to change. Well, how do I want it to change? How can I take part in that? Because that's what's going to make these things happen. We can't sit around and wait for aliens to change things for us. People have been saying, 2012, we're all going to ascend. 2018, it's never going to happen, guys, unless you're doing the work. So that's what I feel like sharing today is get inspired, get motivated, and, do your practice.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to share?
I did, but I think you nailed it. So
I'm on fire today, guys.
You are.
I'm fired up.
And this sounds like common sense, but if you see that your neighbor has an abundance of peaches in front of their house, don't take all of them. Maybe take 1 or 2, but don't take all of them. Just
we have
some advice.
We have a peach tree. We've been renting this house, and we have this peach tree all summer. Like, sweet, we're gonna have all these peaches. They ripened a few days ago. The property managers text us, said, hey, the neighbors asked if they can pick some of your peaches. Like, well, of course they can. We come home today, the tree's cleaned out. There's 0 peaches on it. They took all of our peaches. We're like, what the fuck? Like, how would you not leave some peaches. So that got me a little bit pissed off. We got like 10 peaches and the neighbors took all of them. So getting to the bottom of that. But anyways, yeah, don't take all your neighbor's fruit. Good God.
So let's hear some good questions, some deep
all right, guys,
questions.
We're getting into questions. Send in your questions. What do you got?
I wonder if I hit this, if it'll show the questions from the other day.
Hey, Paul, what's up, brother? Paul from Germany.
Cancel. Try hitting the question on yours. Down at the bottom.
I don't think there's any. It usually pops up. Okay. No, there's none in there.
I didn't know if it would show the ones from stories.
Rich, hey, what's up, brother? You're at the Family Light. Awesome. Family Light gathering. All right, I'm going to go to YouTube questions. Curtis, what's up, brother? Nothing planned for 2022 so far, but I'm sure that I will be putting some things together. I'll definitely be sharing more about that. But next thing I have going on in-person event is in Georgia. That's the 24th, 25th, something like that. Camp Disclosure in Georgia. I'm going to be teaching a couple workshops. campdisclosure.com. Find out more information there.
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun.
Derek Trevino says, okay, working on teacher training course at some point. Any update on that? I'm still planning on doing it. It will probably be a 2022 project. I'm kind of like up to my elbows in projects right now. So I'm trying to not put it more on my plate this year, but I am planning on doing that probably next year. And again, I'll be sharing updates on that for the sexual kung fu teacher training. All right, that's all there. Cat Lego, what's up? South Africa, awesome.
Very cool.
Okay, Flash the Pro TV says, homie, how do you exactly breathe your sexual energy up the spine? Like, can you say it in a more detailed, understanding way? Go through my testicle breathing video. That's exactly how to do it. But basically, breathing is just part of it. Breathing just kind of gives your mind, it's a process that you can harmonize your body with. But basically, you're moving your awareness, like the mind. You think of the mind as like a liquid, and you want to absorb it into the body like a sponge. And as it moves through the body, it guides the chi. The mind guides the chi guides the blood. It starts to move fluids and hormones through your body as well. So basically, absorb your mind into your testicles, and as you inhale, actually it doesn't matter your breath cycle, honestly, but you can do it as you inhale, move your awareness. And it's like you're sucking up a straw from the genitals up the back of the body, up to the head, just moving your awareness. Just play with that and see what happens. Okay, Graham Rusika. We want to learn how to cultivate abundance, and she also wants to know more about the feminine aspect of sexual alchemy, kung fu empowerment. How to cultivate abundance.
I feel like it really just goes down to kind of acknowledging and recognizing what your core beliefs are. So whether that's belief systems, I feel like that's really the biggest part of that is it's not necessarily like you have to go back and dissect every little tiny thing that happened throughout your entire life and analyze it and figure out how to overcome it. But looking at in yourself when you go to the grocery store and your bill is higher than you might have expected it to be, what is your response? What's your immediate response? And what does that tell you about how you believe in abundance? And how can you maybe shift that to help you see abundance as more of a real thing? And so it's a lot of just little tiny day-to-day things like that that can really help you start to shift into a mindset of abundance, because I find that a lot of people can be putting a lot of action into it. They can be doing all of the things, absolutely everything. But if their beliefs still say that like they're a broke college student or whatever it is, that's still going to be their reality, even if they're doing absolutely everything that every expert says as far as action goes to create abundance, whether that's an abundance of love or an abundance of money or an abundance of food or whatever it is. So that's my main thing. I would say look at your beliefs and figure out what you can shift. You can Google it, you can YouTube it. There's a ton of information about shifting those beliefs, but that's what I would say. And then
so the more feminine aspect of
sexual alchemy,
these practices basically.
I'm not really sure what to say about that. Just there are more feminine practices.
I would say a lot for the feminine work. It seems to be
more slowing down.
Slowing down and opening to receptivity, because women kind of have to be in their masculine to really accomplish anything in this world. It is what it is. So, but for a woman to be sexually open, she has to get back into her feminine. So it's like being able to get back in that space of receptivity and openness, I would say.
Creating a safe space for herself. And so there's been a lot of questions lately I've noticed on your Instagram around, finding a partner who is willing to do this work with them. And it isn't necessarily that you say this to the guys all the time, but it isn't necessarily that like you can't do this work unless you have a partner. But if you're wanting a partner to create a safe space for you, you need to be able to do that for yourself too. And so we're really just focusing on, creating a safe space where you feel comfortable and safe, going deep into your more feminine aspects, and then, allowing yourself. And sometimes you might have to be setting some really hard boundaries around not overworking and not overexerting yourself so that you can actually come back within and be receptive and be in your feminine and be more in flow. Yeah, those are kind of my biggest points.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Let's see. Flop says, you guys think sharing your ideas really affect the action of the plan? Nothing's set in stone. Anytime someone's like, this is what's going to happen, this is how things are going to play out in the future, it never plays out that way. Everything is liquid. The reality is completely malleable. It's liquid. Anytime someone tells you that no matter what you do, this certain thing's never going to change, it's a control system. You're listening to dark forces. So liberate yourself. We can absolutely affect every aspect of our reality, and our actions do this, our beliefs.
Hey, that's exactly what I was just going to say. And on the belief front, like that's exactly what it is. Whatever you believe is possible is what is possible. And that's not like a hippie spiritual, like, woo, weird thing. It's true. Like the more that you incrementally, kind of along the lines of the abundance question, the more that you incrementally up your ability to believe that you can have abundance, or that us sharing our thoughts can change the outcome of whatever the hell's going on in the world. Like the more that you can kind of build that muscle and practice that, the more real and 3D it can get.
Taylor Kahn says, do you guys know anything about the law of one, the raw material, discovered lately and love it? Yeah, I've read those losing my tongue here. Yeah, I've read the raw material books. It's good stuff. You always have to be careful to channel material because you don't actually really know who's on the other side. So you kind of have to sort through like, okay, I resonate with that, or that sounds, that's a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely recommend getting like lots of different opinions on the same thing. So listening to different people's experiences, not just their regurgitated thoughts from what they read from 12 other people that have also retold the same story a million times.
Lack of ejaculation frequency lead to prostate cancer. Some people say so. There's no really significant studies that really prove a connection between these. The truth is that 50% of men have prostate issues at some point in their life. And if your only solution to this is to ejaculate, obviously you're not being very holistic about taking care of your prostate. It's really not that hard to keep your prostate healthy. And you do not have to ejaculate frequently to do this. Yes, it can be a good idea to clear it out every now and then, but that's kind of a different, approach. Okay. If $1 million point is done 100% correctly, can it be used to not impregnate? Yes, but there's always the possibility that you'll slip a little bit and then sperm goes in there, and then you have to be careful because you're basically ejaculating with the $1 million point. I personally don't recommend that technique. I wouldn't recommend that technique as birth control. You want to really not go into a peak orgasm if you're trying not to impregnate someone, because there is always the possibility that some semen will slip out. That's a lot of pressure that you're holding back, and it's really easy for just a little bit to slip out. So ask yourself, how serious are you about avoiding pregnancy, right? Any supplement suggestions, Mr. Malouf? Any supplement suggestions for people with Crohn's? My brother has a similar condition, but he still like drinks beer and like eats garbage food, so he's not being very holistic about it. But I don't know about specific supplements, but overall, my understanding it's often linked to stress. An inability to kind of calm the mind down, like your mind's always kind of worried or wrapped around something. So maybe look at that. It also has a lot to do with like your intestinal health. Definitely avoid gluten, avoid GMOs, things like that. Do you know much about Crohn's? Any advice? I would basically say what you said. Yeah, kind of the basics. Make sure that you're getting. Because obviously we're not doctors, we can't be like, oh, here is your detailed regimen for exactly what you need to do, but make sure that you're, getting enough sleep, getting enough water, probably more than enough water to help flush things out so that even if you are a little bit in more of a stressful time, like your body can process it, plenty of fruits and veggies, plenty of,
I was going to say something else. Nature time, sunlight, just all the things that plants need. Apply to yourself.
Yeah. Anthony says, do you think semen retention can heal injuries like tendonitis? I mean, it may or may not, it's probably not going to heal things directly, but it can help your body's ability to heal, because when you're constantly ejaculating, your body shuts down a lot of that self-repair processes to focus on creating sperm. So when creating sperm is no longer a priority for the body, you're not putting all these resources into it, then yes, it can help the body heal itself more effectively. But I'm not going to make a claim like, if you have tendonitis and then you practice semen retention, it'll magically go away. Maybe it will, but maybe it won't, right? Okay, why Mighty Conquero says, why do people say ejaculating frequently can reduce prostate problems? It's just this hypothesis someone came up with, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it's a control system to get men to ejaculate more. It's like, why do people say that injecting weird experimental stuff in their body is going to keep them from getting sick, right? It's just one of these things, like, we can make all these claims, right? But there's not a lot of found actual scientific study in it. Hey, Will, what's up, brother? Appreciate it. Oh, I'll get to that one in a second. A roadmap to learning this as a complete beginner. Check out my semen retention beginner's guide. That's going to be a good resource. Go through my YouTube channel, watch my videos. Sexual transmutation. You need to practice, microcosmic orbit, testicle breathing, circulating sexual energy, sexual transmutation. Rendell Frank says, what would you guys say if more people in the world were more in touch with their sexual energy? The pandemic would be over quicker. Well, there's a lot of factors at play here. Sure, if more people were in touch with their sexual energy and were in harmony and balance with it, then they would be a lot more centered as a whole. They would be much more self-empowered, and they'd be less likely to buy into these bullshit control systems that are happening across the planet. So I'm sure it would have a profound effect, sure.
Are we doing an online sexual alchemy workshop soon? We've actually been talking about something for a while, but we're, like you said, we have a lot of projects going on right now, so we're not wanting to add anything else on. But as soon as that one is ready to be birthed and come out, you guys will know.
Yeah, we definitely want to do some couples kind of course, deep dive work in the future as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What's your diet like? This is important for me. My diet is non-rigid. I don't do GMOs. I eat organic. I don't do a lot of dairy, but I'm not like a fanatical, like I'm vegan. I'm carnivore. I don't have like an in-the-box diet. I'm very intuitive, like with the foods my body needs. So I like to eat fruits. I like to eat some meat, like pasture-raised meats. I like to eat pasture-raised eggs, like just kind of a holistic whole foods diet, right? Lots of superfoods, make sure I'm getting all my minerals and things. So basically I just don't eat shitty things my body doesn't like, and GMOs and pesticide covered things. I don't know if you want to share anything about diet.
Mm-hmm. Similar, just a lot of experimenting personally and being my own science experiment and figuring out like, okay, when I eat this specific thing, how do I feel for the next few hours? How do I feel the next day? And kind of spending months figuring that out of like, okay, this month I'm going to try and see what it feels like to not have dairy. And then next month I'll try having a little bit of dairy here and there and just like actually notice how my body feels differently. And doing that with gluten, dairy, soy, a lot of different things. I've done it with sugar. And yeah, that's kind of how I've gotten to the point of the way that both of us eat now. It's just a lot of experimenting and being my own science experiment, figuring out what actually makes me feel good and what to stop eating that my body is like, hello, I don't like that. That doesn't feel good. So just paying attention, not thinking that it's normal to feel really, really tired or bloated or uncomfortable after eating, because I think those are some of the most like common beliefs. It's like, oh yeah, after you have a big meal, everyone just lays around and they need to take a nap. Yeah, and it's like, no, if that's how you're feeling, it's because your body's having a really hard time or you ate way too much. Like that's not how you should feel.
Everyone's body's different. There's no single diet that works for everyone. You have to learn what's right for your body. For me, a very useful thing was muscle testing. Like we muscle test each other. Like that'd be actually an interesting thing to share in a video or something, but basically learning how to muscle test, learning how to become intuitive to what your body actually needs versus eating from your mind. Like, well, I read this book. It said that I need to only eat plants, therefore that's the diet everyone should eat. People do this all the time when they're actually disconnected from their body. That can be very dangerous. So learn what your body actually needs versus what you think it needs.
Yeah. And even I see that with Ayurveda, and I I've seen some people who have a really, really cool perspective, like who are deep into Ayurveda or different, like really specific, I cannot think of the word, strains, I'll say, really specific areas of diet. But they'll even say, you know, following an Ayurvedic diet is really good for this area of the world. But if you don't live there, like your body is it's going to affect your body differently. So paying attention to like what's actually around you locally and usually eating those things, because your body's going to acclimatize just like everything else does to where you actually physically are. So if you're eating the diet that someone in, I don't know, Uruguay says is really good, but you live in China, probably not going to be the best diet for you. Like, it's probably not going to make you feel that great. So just paying attention.
And this question, can you morally justify eating sentient beings? Plants are sentient beings. There's a I forget the name of the book. I think it's The Secret Life of Plants, but plants feel pain exactly the way animals do. The thing is we can't relate to them in the same way. So everything is alive. Everything has consciousness, and consciousness energy feeds on other energy. It's just how it is, unless you're going to become a breatharian. I mean, even then, every time you take a step, you're walking on bacteria, microbes, and you're killing them. So it's like, inevitably, you have to understand it comes down to eating ethically sourced foods. Obviously, you don't want to eat animals that were raised cruelly and things like that. I always say that most free-range animals, most pasture-raised animals, they live much better lives than most humans on this planet do, especially right now. These free-range animals are 10 times happier than the average human on planet Earth right now. And so I would take being a happy animal than, getting a bullet in the head at the end of my life versus being most people on the planet right now living in the prison of their minds, things like that. So anyways, I don't want to get too much more into the vegan thing right now, but that's my philosophy. Where are we at? Do you drink raw milk? Opinions. I have actually started drinking raw milk in the past few months. I found a local farm that has grass-fed goat milk, cow's milk, and it's actually been amazing for me. I don't do very well on most dairy, but raw milk has actually been really great for me, which makes sense because the pasteurization process destroys a lot of it and makes it kind of create excess mucus in your body. But when you're eating it raw or drinking it raw, it's been great for me actually. So it's something I could recommend. Christian Mooney says, what would your advice on sexual energy practices if you are really sore? I train Brazilian jiu-jitsu a lot and I'm regularly sore and find it hard to do practices. Should I just push through? Well, you definitely want to allow your body to rest. The thing with a lot of these external martial arts is they're extremely hard on the body. If you're like beating yourself up, a lot of people who do these hard martial arts, their bodies are destroyed by the time they're older in their life. That's why I only practice the internal martial arts. I practice Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi. These build up your body. They build up your system over time versus a lot of these hard martial arts. They destroy your body over time. So that's, you kind of have to look at, is this sustainable for me in the long run? That's kind of my philosophy on it. If you're not able to recover and you're too beat up to do, other things, then, you're just wearing down your body over time. So you have to really be careful with that.
Ooh, so weird how it does that. Right here. That's interesting. Just looking for some good questions.
Wait. Okay. Zachary Ling says, how do you feel about sex on Adderall? You have to be very careful with drugs, with substances, especially Adderall. Amphetamines, they pull your kidney energy, they pull your adrenals, and they can deplete your sexual energy over time. So sex on Adderall, maybe as an instant gratification thing, it feels great right now, but this is not a very sustainable thing. The thing is that when you really learn to cultivate your energy and open up to deep tantric experiences, you don't need drugs. The act of activating the internal energy gets you high naturally. So relying on these external substances, I don't really recommend. Did you, is there anyone you want to address?
Nope. Looks like kind of a lot of the same questions.
Okay, Flash the Pro, you're using the $1 million point, but you're not going to ejaculation. So if you're not actually going to the point of like the peak orgasm, then yeah, no fluid's going to come out and that's fine. But in that case, you don't really need the $1 million point.
Flash the Pro recommended one of your videos. Thank you. He's paying attention.
Okay, what's my true opinion on the future of the world? I mean, we're creating the future now. The future is an illusion. That's the thing, is like people always make these predictions, these prophecies, and things never really happen the way, like I was talking earlier about, like, oh, 2012, we're all going to ascend. Then, oh, the great, all these predictions and timelines, they never really happen because you can't predict things in the future because there's so many variables. Free will is the variable. Every choice every single one of us makes affects the timeline. So what do I think the future is going to be like? I don't know. There's a lot of things it could be like, but I'm optimistic. Based on the things I'm focusing on in my life, I think the future is going to be amazing. What do you think the future is going to be like?
I think the future is going to be like whatever we're choosing now and now and now and now. And that's literally it. It's literally just the future is going to be whatever we continue to choose in every present moment. And it's not like I'm saying like, oh, just pretend the future doesn't exist and the past doesn't exist and it's only right now, but just worrying about the future doesn't do anything helpful. And so if we can, kind of like we said earlier, if you can just focus more on the future that you want and what action you can take now to get there, even if it's like one little tiny thing of like, today when I buy groceries, I'm going to be grateful, instead of be like, oh shit, I don't want to spend this much money. Like, I'm just going to be grateful today. And like, boom, tiny little step forward. Like, it doesn't have to be these huge, momentous giant things. Like, even just little tiny movements forward can make a really, really big difference.
Your focus becomes your future because the future doesn't happen. The future is really just a continuation of the present moment. So what you're focusing on is happening in the present moment. So if you're focusing on fear, giving your control, you're giving your power away to other people, that will become your future. If you focus on self-empowerment, inspiration, love, that becomes your future.
Can I address the Instagram ones?
Sure.
So I would just say, for everybody,
what's the question?
For everybody everywhere else, there's just a lot of the vegan stuff. I would just say, no matter what your beliefs are around anything on the planet, maybe reflect back on your own life and think about, like, anytime someone has tried to pressure you into something, did they win? Did the other person win? If the other person tried to pressure you into doing something, did you do it or did you rebel against it? And this is just something that seems to be really picking up momentum at the moment, and it's not helpful. I think the best thing that we can all do for ourselves is just share our own beliefs and know that not everyone is going to resonate with that and not everybody is going to agree. And that's fine. The people who don't agree can go. If I don't see the names, but there's a couple people talking about it on Instagram. You guys can just unfollow. You don't have to stay on the live, like, if you're bothered by it. And yeah, the people who do agree will stay and will continue learning. And that's not to say that, like, we're right and you're wrong, or you're right and we're wrong, but just like every human has their right to their own beliefs, and there's no point in trying to convince people of doing something different, because it's not going to work. Humans are going to rebel against control. We know that. Look at the world right now. So just FYI, we'll just be moving on.
Okay, here's a good question. How do you heal? Hazim says, how do you heal a depleted body from frequent ejaculation? So you want to rebuild your kidney system. In Chinese medicine, this is your water element, right? Kidneys, bladder, sexual organs, these are all part of the kidney system. Blood, hormones, herbs, kidney and tonifying herbs. There's a lot of Chinese herbs that will help build your kidneys, like a shogu formula, goji berries, black sesame seeds. Stillness and rest, allowing your body to recover its energy. Spend more time in nature, get out of the city, go camping, hang out in nature. Allow yourself some stillness. Qigong practice is really great for building core energy, building the dantian specifically. Proper exercise, things like that will help you recover from, expending too much jing, basically.
Do you have a favorite binaural beats?
Binaural beats?
Mm-hmm.
Depends what you're trying to accomplish, because binaural beats basically just changes your brain frequency. There's often like a lot of things like, oh, this will give you an LSD trip. They're just putting your brain in different frequencies. So do you want a theta state? Do you want an alpha state? Do you want a beta state? Do you want a gamma state? Whatever, whatever brain state you want to be in, that's what binaural beats will help you do. So do I have a favorite one? Just depends like what I'm trying to do. But I don't actually use binaural beats very much right now. I do it with internal meditation. But it can be useful.
This last one looks like a really good one for you.
Taylor Khan says, I drink lots of ginger juice. Can you speak on all things ginger? I love ginger. I'm a gingerholic. I literally buy I'll buy big ginger roots. I'll go through like a pound or two a week, and I just chew on them throughout the day. Ginger is absolutely amazing. It works with all 12 organ systems, all 12 meridians in Chinese medicine. It's energizing. It fuels your digestion. Ginger is really, really great for you. I love ginger. Highly recommended that. It's good to have ginger with every meal. Wait. It's all good. Everyone has opinions. I'm not going into the fanatical diet religious war anymore.
Key West misses you both.
Key West. I miss Key West too. Okay, do you know the golden rule and do you try to live off of her? Yeah, I mean, this is one of my foundational, I've always been a very empathic person. Like I feel what other people feel. It was actually something that really, struggled with for a lot of my life because I just felt what everyone else was feeling around me and I closed myself off a lot. But it's something I would naturally embody because I understood whatever I do to someone else, I know how it feels. I know how my actions affect others. And a lot of people are unconscious about this. So it's a very obvious thing, I guess, but I guess some people are still learning.
Stacia W. Can you provide tips on how I can tell my partner what I need sexually without sounding like I'm nagging? Yes, that's a very, very good question, and I can completely relate. I think it's just really having those conversations and communicating when you're not in like a triggered state, and maybe like taking some deep breaths if you're trying to give guidance like in the moment. Just taking some deep breaths and like getting calm so that it doesn't sound like, exactly like I said, so it doesn't sound like you are nagging, so that you can just be like calm about it. But I think also just having your own pleasure practice and getting really clear, and maybe even inviting your partner into that practice so that they can see exactly what you like to do, and maybe they can even partake and they can help and you can guide them. And maybe you can even like set up some dates where that is the intention of like, okay, today, like, we're going to practice you giving me pleasure, and like I'm just going to guide you the whole time and tell you exactly how to do what, and just allowing that to kind of be a fun little process so that you both learn. Really, I feel like for women it's really, really common to kind of shut down our throat and like not be able to speak and talk about whatever it is that we actually really want. And so it can be a really good practice for you on opening that up and allowing yourself to speak that, and also for your partner to learn like, oh, I was just doing it like a tiny bit off, and like if I do this, it'll be better. And I think also just sharing with your partner that, women are always changing. Our hormones are changing every single day. So what works today might not work tomorrow. It's always going to be a little different, and just kind of coming to the situation as an exploration and as something fun versus like hit this button, get this result, which is it's what the masculine wants. So just maybe kind of changing that, expectation a little bit.
Okay, here's something I just want to address really quick is I agree. Okay, so Madhu is saying, I agree with trying to reduce animal products to preserve the world, don't you? So it's kind of like this idea of the who's talking about the vegan utopia diet. The thing is that it's not about eating animal products or plant products. It's about the agricultural situation in the world. Monocropping in general, it's what's destroying the environment. Even if that's just all, a lot of these the vegan meat products and things like that, they're very destructive to the environment. So the thing is that the whole agricultural industry, whether that's livestock or just plants, it needs to be changed or it's going to destroy the planet. It's going to collapse on itself. There's a new type of farming, basically, I forget the name for it, but basically it's what I was talking about towards the beginning of this video, where instead of just planting one crop, wasting all the space, destroying the ground and drawing in all these weird insects because it's one type of plant, you space everything out together, ground covering crops. So it's all this mix of different crops. You have animals on the land as well, grazing on the crops. Their feces is fertilizing. That is a natural ecosystem. That's how the planet should be. These are the types of farms that I choose to support. And if you're getting products from those, you're actually extremely benefiting the world. So if everyone buys those plants, if you're buying GMO products, if you're buying Monsanto stuff, even a lot of the Beyond Meat, all these vegan libido killing fake meat products, you're contributing to destroying the planet as well. So it's not about being vegan or not vegan. It's understanding that the agricultural situation of this world is fucked and we need a new system. That's what it really comes down to. End of diet rant. That means it's not really diet. It's just like I can't talk, guys. I'm gonna drink some water.
And Logan just jumped on at the perfect time.
Hey,
it's called regenerative. So there you go.
Thank you, Logan.
Farming.
Regenerative farming. It's the
know.
only thing that is possibly sustainable on our planet. So whether you're vegan or a carnivore, if you're buying into mass scale farming as it's been done traditionally, it's completely destroying the planet. But regenerative farming is the future, or could be the future. All right. Okay, Black Bear says, do you guys own crypto? Yes, I own crypto. I highly recommend getting into currencies outside of the US dollar because fiat currency it's based on nothing. It's only going down in value over time. The US dollar has gone down in value, 95% or more, and they're printing out more and more US dollars. So it's only continuing to drop. If you get into cryptocurrency, gold, silver, something real, then you actually have the opportunity to increase the value of your currency over time. So it's a very, very good idea.
Land, just being another one, investing in land.
Land, for sure. You ain't no kind of man unless you own land. John Wayne. Okay.
Specific.
So there's a lot of questions, so we kind of have to sort through the most relevant ones, I would say.
Oops. I skipped some of these. I don't know if you want to do any of these ones. I feel like you've answered them before.
Okay. Here's a good question. Pro Joker says, how do you lose the attachment to ejaculation in procreation sex that most people are used to and feeling like you're missing out if you don't ejaculate? For me, it was learning the sexual kung fu methods, learning to channel the energy upwards in my body and store it in my body. So try having even one session where you do this, where you're like, okay, I'm going to cultivate my sexual energy and I'm going to walk away from the session having not ejaculated. I'm going to store it within my body. And you know what? The first time I did that, I walked away saying, wow, I normally feel like, ejaculation, you get that sense of completion, but you get the 5 seconds like, oh yeah, pleasureful, and then it's over. But then you were like, oh, now I'm here at my baseline and I wish I could do that again, but I don't, my energy's gone. Instead of that, feeling like, ooh, I'm charged up. I just cultivated my sexual energy, stored it in my body. I feel fired up. I could do that again if I wanted to. And I'm walking around with this sexual arousal charge and having, non-ejaculatory sex with a partner. We're exchanging our sexual energy, having these powerful orgasmic experiences and storing that in my body. You're levitating the rest of the day. And once that becomes your normal experience, you don't desire the old path of like ejaculating as a method to release your stress and tension. Depletion just doesn't sound as appealing. Zenny, they're out there. Don't worry. Get out of the big cities. Get out of the hypnotized populations. That's hilarious. Joe Too Prosper says, how do you feel spiritually from Qigong and when did you start feeling the benefits? I started feeling the benefits the first time I practiced Qigong. And it was like, ooh, I just felt like I felt more centered, felt more calm, felt more peaceful, And after time, the more I practice it, the more that my energy increased, the more all these things increased. Spiritually, it makes you feel very connected to something beyond the physical. It makes me feel very connected to this source energy. And this, kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, of feeling charged up from within yourself, having this internal connection to source. It's like all these religions, all these dogmatic paths, there's always like something in between you and source. It's like, okay, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. You have to go to this guru or this priest, then he can talk to God for you, but you're just this low piece of shit. Like you don't get to talk to God. I don't believe that bullshit. So having a sort of method that allows you to directly tap into source energy is incredibly empowering. And for me, Qigong is one of those tools. Do you want to address this one?
I would honestly, so the question, let me get a little closer here. Carreras says, hi guys, I've been living some difficult times because I really think my girlfriend could have been with someone else secretly. I feel like she's been hiding something from me. So now when we make love, I feel super insecure and end up ejaculating really quickly. I guess I'm curious. I don't know if there's more comments after that. I'm curious how long you guys have been together and if you feel comfortable having an honest conversation with her about it. But, even just being really honest and just expressing your feelings, because I find that especially, I'll say for women who aren't in their wounded feminine, having those really, really deep, open conversations with her can really help her have a stronger connection with you. And, the mind can play crazy tricks on us. So whether it's true or whether it's not true, actually having that conversation could definitely deepen the relationship regardless, whether that ends up, whatever direction that ends up going. I think it's just really important to stick to the truth and just letting her know, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's coming up for me. It might be totally wrong. It might be right. But I just wanted to have this conversation with you because it's been bothering me and it's affecting our sex and I don't want it to. And so I think just really being open to holding that space and having that conversation, and probably letting her know a little bit ahead of time, like, hey, do you have time to talk in an hour, or do you have time to talk tomorrow? So that she has a little bit of time to kind of ground herself and get ready for, a serious conversation. Yeah. Do you have anything to say on that one?
Yeah. I mean, trust obviously is a major part of relationships, right? And if you feel like that's being infringed upon, you obviously have to open up the conversation. And if they have a problem with talking about it, then, that's obviously it's a problem, right? Because you need to be able to be open and communicative, and if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with someone. So it really just comes down to communication, understanding maybe if you have some underlying insecurities and you may be projecting, or if it's an authentic, situation. So I know it's a difficult situation to be in, but, again, feel into it, give yourself some space, maybe to kind of feel things, allow yourself to get some clarity, and talk to your partner about it. Okay, there's a couple questions there. Okay, Christian Mooney says, in your Qigong practices, you talk about feeling the dawling point. The fingers for me are a lot more sensitive than the dawling point. I have to use force to feel the dawling point. Can you comment on this? So yeah, naturally, you're more aware of your fingers and your hands because we usually have a lot of consciousness here, right? But they're not necessarily energetic hotspots, we could say. In Qigong, a lot of teachers talk about the Lao Gong point, which is a major energy spot. But for me, this was one of the biggest internal training secrets I've learned, which I'm going to share openly right now, focusing on the dawling point, center of the wrist crease right here. Bam, it's an energy accelerator. It's like hitting the on button for your energy, but it doesn't happen right away. You have to develop this, and simply holding your awareness here, you can kind of press there for a little bit. You have to cultivate this. Yeah, it's not going to feel natural in the beginning because you're not used to focusing on your wrist, but through time, as you even just sitting here focusing on it like this, bam, I feel the chi activate. It comes up my legs, through my dantian, through my torso, through my arms, like this hydraulic. It feels badass. That's what happens over time when you work with it. So keep practicing it, keep working with it. It will be well worth your efforts. This is a major hotspot for energy. The dawling point. Okay, there's several people asking about, should I get the V word? What do I think about the bam whammy? Worst thing you could possibly do, in my opinion. Were these things, did humans survive for thousands and thousands of years, maybe millions of years, depending whose history you're going through injecting weird shit in their bodies? No, these are a very new. Let's look at the track record of Western medicine, pharmacological medicine. One of the highest death rates in the US is from pharmaceutical drugs. Do you really want to take this thing that was developed very, very rapidly? The highest, I think the quickest V word ever created was in six years. They created this thing in less than a year. The only reason it's legal, it's not even FDA approved. The only reason that they're able to do it is because they got emergency experimentation, basically. If you take this thing in your body, you are a guinea pig. It's not even a real V word based on the definition. It's basically an AI program, bypasses your immune system, starts affecting your genetics, your DNA, your RNA. Does this not sound like a science fiction utopian movie plot? Like, have some common sense, guys. Don't let yourself be manipulated by fear. Look at the statistics. Go on the CDC website and you'll see that more people are dying from putting this thing in their body than from the thing we're supposed to be afraid of, right? Statistically on the website, you can find this information. So I'm going to say, once you put this in your body, there is no going back. So be careful, guys. There's a lot more going on than we're being told. This is all just a very desperate fear plot. One last attempt to control humanity, and it's your choice, obviously, what you choose to do, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, and this one.
Okay, and then that very relevant to Fawad's asking, what do I do about these mandates? I feel like my rights are being severely encroached. They are. You are being put into a totalitarian, nightmarish scenario. And for me personally, if I was living somewhere that was putting these things out, I would get the fuck out of there. I would get out of this nightmare scenario that a lot of people, and again, this is giving away your power to someone else. So become self-sufficient. I know it's uncomfortable to move somewhere else and start your life over, but it may be literally a life or death choice, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And I can't say for sure what's going to happen. There's another question from Martin. Well, I guess just a statement around traveling and everything. And my belief is that once certain countries see how much their tourism income goes down because of these requirements, I feel like they're going to end up lifting it because they want money.
This thing's not going to last very long. I mean, it's coming out that this whole thing, like, the story is like, oh, this Chinese guy, he ate a bat and then he got this weird disease, now a pandemic. Like, okay, yeah, that's sure, that's likely. And all the stuff coming out about who was funding this lab? A guy whose name starts with an F, though, is any news that's coming out or any reports coming out about this thing actually being harmful, causing deaths, things like that, it's instantly censored. Mm-hmm. I think that tells you everything you need to know right there. I'm going to stop saying incriminating things on this big tech platform. Okay. Rendell Frank says, when having sex, do you focus on any part of the body in particular when flowing sexual energy, or is it more a general focus? It depends. For me, kind of my go-to areas to focus on are my belly, the dantian area, the head, the brain, the pineal gland, the jade pillow area. It just depends. But in general, just feeling other parts of the body than the genitals will help you keep that keep from getting too stimulated and too much energy building up in the genitals.
I thought the defending yourself one was interesting.
Rico Thompson says, beware of mass solar flare. It will destroy crypto. I mean, people have been talking about the solar flare for my whole life. And like, yeah, maybe there's going to be a solar flare, but maybe not. And it's not like your US dollar is going to be good after a solar flare. It's not like currency in general would be good after solar flare. The world would be in complete chaos. So, but actually, if you got a Faraday cage and you have an external crypto wallet, put it in a Faraday cage, It would be good after solar flare, but there'd be no, networks to use it on. But.
There might not be humans, but your crypto would be okay.
We'll all be ascended, so it's good. Taylor Khan says, "What's your necklace?" This other guy says, "It looks like a butt plug." Yeah, this is my. I take it out when I need my butt plug. No, this is a Rocky Jed Pillar, Egyptian tech, probably Atlantean tech, but generates photons, creates an electromagnetic field. These kinds of things. So a lot of countries are putting the passports in place. It's I don't know, it's crazy. Like I said, I would do whatever I could to get out or become self-sufficient.
There was one on Instagram I thought was good.
Which one?
Go down a little bit. Too far.
Oops.
From
Okay, Joe Too Prosper says, might be a dumb question, but do you think Qigong can help you with defending yourself physically since it has a lot to do with Qi? Yes and no. Yes, Qi is incorporated into martial arts. I mean, this is Tai Chi, Bagua Xingyi, but it takes years to develop this. I've been, practicing this diligently for many years. And if some dude was running at me in a back alley with a butcher knife, I don't think I would be relaxed enough to use Qi to defend myself. So for practical self-defense work, I don't recommend internal energy, but the situation happens, you would be better off than someone with no energy training, I guess I would say. But you have to really, really build some Qi for it to be effective in let's just to be real about it, right? I don't want to,
I was going to say, speaking of protection, if you want to think about it more in the terms of everything that's going on right now and all of the fear projecting, it's very great protection for that.
Energetic protection. I'm having trouble talking today. Major energetic protection. And that's the most relevant part of Qigong. That's the main reason, one of the main reasons I practice is it keeps me clear. It keeps me away from other people's belief systems and bullshit coming at me, just like, boom, keeps me clear. I will tell a story that one of my teachers, Scott Meredith, he talks about, he was in a car going 80 miles an hour, and because some maniac was driving and was going to kill them both, he jumped out of this car on the freeway going 80 miles an hour, barely a scratch. That would have killed most people because he had built up all this Qi from Tai Chi. I mean, this is a high level practitioner, but he had this, you really build this, they call it Peng, P-E-N-G, which is this earth Qi that starts to penetrate your body as you relax, and it inflates you sort of. It becomes a very protective energy. So I don't know. I haven't jumped out of any cars, but we'll see.
I think there was a second part to his. A little bit more down.
That's
you already answered that one.
Relevant. I'll get to that. Let's see if there's any you want to answer.
Hasn't been yet. Bunny's going crazy.
Okay, any questions about relationships, sexual energy? We're kind of getting away from the other stuff.
The point here.
Okay, I think this is a good question. Joe Too Prosper says, what should we focus on during sex since we don't want to focus on the things we've seen in porn for so long? So for men, for me, this is like getting out of this like visual-based stimulation, which is typically what men focus on, is things that arouse and excite them. Well, that becomes a problem when you're trying to control your energy, because if you get too excited and aroused, it pulls your energy out of you. So stop focusing on visual imagery. Start focusing on your breath, focusing on the sensations that you're feeling, opening up the energy channels, guiding the energy upwards in the body, staying relaxed and fluid, and seeing if you can feel sexual pleasure in your entire body. Those are the kinds of things you want to focus on. Anything to add to that?
Mostly that. Just be really, really present. I guess. Okay, I do have a little thing to add.
Go for it.
Be really. It's not much. Just be really present in your body and like follow sensation around your body. So if you're starting to notice that, like, oh, I'm in fantasy land, like, let me just figure out where in my body do I feel sensation right now. Oh, it's in my toe. That's weird. Why? What am I feeling in my toe? Oh, now I feel it in my knee. Maybe now I feel it in my genitals, and just kind of slowly just coming back into your body and figuring out where sensation is and following it.
Oh, actually, there was a question I saw. Okay. Denson says, what can you do if you can feel the energy or chi in your legs and lower half of your body, but can't get it to rise up your back? This is actually fairly common. Well, it's actually for most people, from my experience, it's the opposite. For me, I had a much easier time feeling the chi in my hands, my arms, and then my dantian, and then the legs were the hardest, one of the hardest things for me to charge up. But I'm not sure what practice you're doing, but as the dantian, kind of the chi building in the kind of the Qigong system, it's from the root up. So it's like you build the dantian first, which, really connects to the grounding of the earth. So that's going to charge up your legs as well. So it makes sense you'll feel the lower body first, which is good. It means you're grounded. It means your leg channels are open. And so as you continue to cultivate and build chi, it'll start to activate the higher centers as well. But I recommend, as I was mentioning before, focusing on this Daling point in the hand as you do Qigong. It'll start to bring the chi through the arms and hands as well. So that's something you can work with.
Probably wrap it up.
Matt attacked says, this is actually hilarious. He says, are you the parents from Meet the Fockers? So you haven't seen that movie, have you? It's so basically this guy, his girlfriend's meeting his family, or his fiance, his wife, whatever, and his parents are like, he missed it. Dang. Pull the feedback up here. Oh, it's gone. All right. So this guy's parents are like weird, kind of tantra, kind of perverted weirdo. It's hilarious.
Well,
So
then I guess
this is not a terrible stretch, but we're not polyamorous, so. Okay, Christian Mooney says, when practicing Qigong, if you feel a little pain in a certain area, like for me, I feel it in the right knee, how should I proceed? So pain in Qigong, if it's like kind of like muscular aching, that's usually kind of normal, but joint pain is usually kind of a warning sign, especially the knees. It probably means that your stance is a bit off. You're putting too much pressure on your knees. So check your alignments, check your hip alignment, check your knee alignment, your ankle. You don't want to wreck your knees over time, so be careful with that. Hey, Instagram, my live got automatically ended after an hour. Tyler Bourbon says, what's the difference between Tantra and sexual Kung Fu? So I've talked about this several times, but basically Tantra, it's kind of an Indian or kind of Tibetan system it's actually a whole cultivation system, and only part of it is sexual practices. But basically it's a lot more kind of like working with deities, and kind of the man embodies Shiva, the woman embodies Shakti. So it can get kind of like esoteric and kind of like, I don't know, religious in some ways, but there's also a lot of powerful practices, and there's a lot of similarities between Tantra and the Taoist practices of sexual Kung Fu. But I like the sexual Kung Fu Taoist practices more personally because it's more practical, it's more grounded, it's more just like working with the natural forces, working with the energy channels. And in Tantra, there's usually more of this focus on like the Kundalini circuit, trying to raise the energy up to the crown and blast off into space. But with the Taoist practices, it's the microcosmic orbit. You bring the energy up, but you ground it back down as well. This is ascending and descending currents. Joe to Prosper, no, Tai Chi is not in my 6-week course, but I do teach Qigong practices in that. They're very powerful. I do teach Tai Chi in my Immortal Energy Arts online academy. You talk about threesomes?
Seems pointless. I wonder if those are our beaches. Do you want to talk about threesomes?
Well, okay, so Lady Gemini is asking, what are your thoughts on threesomes involving a couple? It's important to understand that I say this all the time. Every live, there's something about this, but basically every person you have sex with, you're bonding with on a very, very deep level. You're exchanging information with them. You are basically becoming them. You're exchanging ancestral patterns, you're exchanging karma, emotions at a usually very unconscious level, but we're just like, oh, sex, yay, let's do it, but there's a lot of exchange happening. So understanding that. So if it's just like some random person, you're like, you put up an ad on Craigslist, like, hey, looking for a threesome partner, it's gonna you may create some weird dynamics in your relationship. So it just, I don't know, it depends where you're at in your relationship. Like, is this a deep cultivating relationship together? Are you like, evolving, awakening, having spiritual growth together? Or are you just kind of like having sex with each other, like, kind of a more shallow physical connection? It's just, I don't know. It depends what your
purpose, intention.
Your intention is, right? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a lot to it, I suppose.
And I guess I would say, like, if you're really wanting to dive into that conversation, Sex with Emily talks about that a lot. So that could be someone to check out her podcast. I think it's the same name. Denson says, how do you handle wanting to learn about all these non-conventional spiritual practices, but being surrounded by traditionally religious friends and family as a result, ended feeling alone? That's where I think finding community is really, really important. Yeah. And so if you're wanting to go into these routes, I think a good place to start is finding people online. Like, if you're already here, clearly you're already doing it. You're already looking out for people that have similar beliefs as you. And, just starting to figure out, okay, where might these people be hanging out in my town? How can I actually go and like physically be around these people? Because that's something that was really, really big for me, is I had so many friends that I totally resonated with, totally aligned with, that didn't live where I lived. And then as I finally started, like, I think letting go of the belief that, like, oh, everyone in my town is super religious and everyone in my town has these beliefs. And once I finally was like, okay, I'm open to there being people who align with me here. Like, then I started actually finding those friends and going to the types of events where those people would be. And yeah, it felt a lot less alone. And then through those people, I'd get introduced to their friend groups and then to their friend groups. And so it would just really expand like that. But I think, yeah, finding community, however you can, is really important.
Yeah. I mean, that was, something I felt as I was beginning my practice, like, oh, yeah, I started kind of growing apart from a lot of my friends, which is natural. But the thing is, like, then you start to resonate and kind of attract people who are on the same path as you. So it's just a natural part of human, our evolution.
Something else I was going to say is, I think once you really cultivate those relationships, it makes the family and the people that you can't just be like, okay, moving on from, it makes it easier to kind of relate to them, because you're not trying to change them and you can just accept them, like, okay, these are their beliefs. That's fine. I also have these other people who fulfill my need to, like, have conversations that actually feel good and align with me.
Christian Moody says, how do you get so confident with opinions you take? For example, V words, big pharma. I would have the same opinions, but I doubt myself, as it is my nature to question everything in this life. Well, for me, it was a matter of experience. When I was like 18 years old, I had warts on my hand, and like I went to a dermatologist, they froze them off. The warts came back, and I kept going back. They came back again and again. And the doctor told me, there's no known cure for warts. There's no true cure for warts. I went on the internet, looked up, some site said, put apple cider vinegar on. I'm like, what? All right, well, I'll try it. I put apple cider vinegar on my warts. Literally that night, they fell off, never came back again. I was like, what the, like, this doctor told me there's no known cure, but I put some freaking vinegar on it and it worked. And ever since then, I was like, wow, this is a control system. It's, get into Nikola Tesla and when the pharmacological takeover happened in the early 1900s, it's a system based on really stealing people's money, keeping them sick and making money for them. It's really messed up. But the truth is that holistic health is simple. It's really easy to keep yourself healthy. You don't need to put weird stuff in your body. You don't need to take drugs. You just need to keep yourself balanced and harmonized. So it's like the truth is always very simple. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on the V word? It's fucked. I already, you can look back at my live on YouTube and get my thoughts on it, but it's not a good thing. Flash the Pro TV. I got on semen retention because I started to realize that ejaculating frequently was depleting my energy. I was stuck in my life. I was drained. And once I first went 3 days without ejaculating, I had more energy, more drive, more focus than I had before. I was like, obviously, this is something I should focus on. All right, we should probably wrap up. Feel free to send any last questions. Probably just do a couple more here.
Tina. If there's only 15 to 20 minutes available to practice development of sexual energy, what would you say is a priority? Meditation, microcosmic orbit practice, breathing? Thanks. I think this is where, and yeah, I would say this is where using your intuition could be really important. Is every single day is going to be different. And if you're two different things, if you're only prioritizing or able to prioritize 15 to 20 minutes, prioritize whatever's actually going to help you in that moment on that day. Just hopefully that is helpful. And then the other part is if you only have 15 to 20 minutes available to practice, I guess I would just ask yourself, like, is it truly a priority, or is there another area of your life that you could rearrange things so that you can prioritize what you want to prioritize, whether that is your sexual development or a different area? We have an unlimited amount of choice in life, and once we really recognize that and allow ourselves to fully own it, there's a lot more stuff that we can do. We have a lot more availability for the amount of time we have to practice on different things and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, it just comes down to whatever's a priority and whatever's actually going to be the best for you on that day, because our energy is different every single day. So yeah.
I think it was a great answer. And like for me, when I first got into Qigong, my main practice was a practice called Jian Zhuang, but still my main practice, where you stand in these positions and hold them for periods of time and ground into the earth, and it fills the whole body with qi, just charges you up. So that's one of my main practices. Building the Dantian's great, breathwork's great, microcosmic orbit's great, meditation. But yeah, these things all have kind of different applications. So as you practice, as you learn how these affect you, again, you'll get to understand what you need on certain days, like what your goals are and things like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that just even made me think of, there's a couple questions on Instagram scrolled up a little bit if you want to look at those. But that just makes me even think of a story of, like, even when we first met and you were working kind of just like whatever random jobs, you would still spend hours a day on Qigong because that was your priority. So, we can always shift things around to do whatever we really want in life.
Yeah. For me, it was like, first it was like, well, how am I going to fit my practice into my day? Like, it's so much time. And then I got hooked on my practice, and it became like, okay, how do I schedule my day around my practice so that, because it became my priority. Okay, here's a good question. Does retaining deprive the female? So does not ejaculating during sex deprive the female? I think this is a great question, and I think it can potentially. Sorry. And also, why would a woman feel like she's lacking something? Because, I think for a lot of women, it's like, oh, I didn't receive his semen, which is kind of this tangible thing that shows her that the man has reached some sort of completion. So for a lot of women, it's they feel like their man's not satisfied unless he's ejaculated. So part of it's kind of like them letting go of that belief and like encouraging your partner, hey, I'm still having orgasms. I'm experiencing actually much more pleasure without ejaculating. But it can also be the actual energetic exchange. So if like you're really a man who's kind of like really holding yourself back, like not allowing yourself to really give to her, that can become an issue. So that's why exchanging your sexual energy consciously, exchanging it, it's like, I forget who, I think it was one of my teachers said, if you want to give someone a peach, you don't tear out peaches. You don't tear out the tree by its roots and give them the whole tree. You just give them a peach. So like always giving your semen to your partner is like tearing out your tree. It's uprooting your kidney system basically, right? So, and I think occasionally ejaculating can be a good, like if your partner really, really wants you to ejaculate, then you can kind of compromise it. Okay, every 2 weeks, once a month, whatever works for you, I will give you an ejaculation. Is kind of this exchange, and the rest of the time we'll just exchange the energetics of it. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, just communication. Like it's a really big opportunity to deepen your communication with each other so that you can express that your needs are still being met and she can work through whatever. It could even be from a place of not being full in herself, of desiring that. And that's not like 100% of the time. It's just that, if you've had this conversation and she's still like, well, I want you to ejaculate every single time, that can be a good point to kind of flip the mirror and say, like, maybe it's time to do your own energy practices and figure out like why you feel like you need this ejaculation so much.
Lukey Buck says, how do you calm yourself down when you are nervous to talk to a girl you get a good vibe off of? Focus on breathing, deep, slow belly breaths. That's always the thing you can connect to control your nervous system. Another little trick I'll share, this point, the base of the neck, there's this big vertebrae there. C7 point, feel that relaxing, like focus your mind on this point, feel it relaxing, feel the rest of your back like melting down to the earth. That helps to relax and sync your energy. You'll feel less nervous. So it gives you something to focus on instead of like, oh, I'm nervous, what am I going to say? So try that out.
And if that doesn't work, 2 that I've heard are squeeze your butt cheeks and imagine them bald.
Squeeze your butt cheeks, I like that.
Yep. That's for public speaking.
I never thought of
Imagine
that.
the people bald and squeeze your butt cheeks, because it pulls all of that nervous energy into your butt, which has a lot more room to store it. And usually the nervousness goes away and you're just laughing in your head at everyone in front of you being bald.
Difference between Qigong and Tai Chi. Basically, I would say Tai Chi is an advanced version of Qigong. Qigong is a broad term that means energy cultivation, basically, right? Skill and discipline in cultivating Qi. Tai Chi is a very specific form of energy practice, right? And it's quite advanced, actually. So that's kind of my take, is that Tai Chi is an advanced form of Qigong. Keeping teeth healthy. Christian Mooney. Yes, there's holistic ways to keep your teeth healthy. You want to keep your teeth mineralized. I've got I think it's called Uncle Harry's. It's like a teeth mineralization thing I use every day. What's the substance? It's hydroxyapatite. That it's one of the minerals that your teeth build themselves from. I got some hydroxyapatite toothpaste, and so it helps remineralize the teeth. Fluoride toothpaste. Don't put fluoride in your body, period. But there is some natural, remineralization toothpaste and things like that you can use. Celery juice is great, actually. You can like swish celery juice, helps to remineralize your teeth as well. Lukey Buck says, when does your course come out? Super keen, would be in Australia, Melbourne, be an issue. You can take it from anywhere in the world. My online course, I'll be opening that up again in a couple months, so stay tuned.
And he knows that it's Melbourne, not Melbourne.
Melbourne. We spent some time in Australia a couple years ago. I love it there. We're going back as soon as we can. I love Australia. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more last questions. We're going strong here, but ready to wrap it up.
I like how when I read some of these, I can tell where people are from.
Trouble feeling the energy in the front of my body doing Qigong. Very common. Just keep working with it. Keep absorbing your awareness there. Again, like your mind is absorbing into the tissues like a sponge, filling them, and your awareness will increase over time.
For Sean, I would say just leave it up to the universe. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. There's no way we would have met. Like, logically, it wouldn't have ever made sense. And we met, so.
Okay, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's been good. I think, I'll be back next week. I'm heading to Seattle next week for studying with one of my teachers. I'm really excited for that. But I should be back here. Same time next week. And thanks, everyone, for joining. Join me in Georgia in a couple of weeks for Camp Disclosure. Go to campdisclosure.com to learn more about that. Teach a couple workshops there. And I don't know, keep it easy, guys. Focus on what you want. Stay happy, stay positive. We're creating this world together. So focus on what you want to create, what you want this world to be. Take part in it.